Today I am in Friesland to visit Bart Henstra. I am going to ask him some questions about our Keurings. Yes, he's one of our judges for over 20 years now, and he knows a lot about Keurings, so he's a perfect person to ask. Hey Bart!
Hey Liz.
Hey, thank you for making some time for me. Yeah, we're very much looking forward to you guys coming over. But I have some questions, especially for the members that haven't ever gone to Keurings yet. What is the use of going to a Keuring? Like, why would you recommend people going to a Keuring?
Well, we have set as a KWPN, we have set a breeding goal. So what we are looking for in a horse. We have the breeding specializations like dressage and hunters and jumpers and the gelders horse and the harness horse, of course. And we have a specific breeding goal and also conformation wise and performance wise what the ideal is. And we believe to support the performance we need a functional conformation and correct in the legs and in the feet because that endures the period of performance. So we think it's very good to select on that because we're also a breeding society. So we want to confirm certain issues or not issues, but certain
aspects of
the horse in the breeding. So the more you confirm it in your breeding line, the more the consistent your breeding program will be.
Yeah, and then eventually the quality will just improve.
It will improve, yeah for sure.
I was curious if you could give me your point of view on specifically jumper foals and older horses. What the importance is to bring them to a Keuring and what you look at when you're at a Keuring for jumpers.
Well, for sure we look at the conformation, so how is built, if well proportioned, and if he is imbalanced and also correct in the legs and has a good functional conformation. We believe in that. And then especially for the foals, for the jumper foals, the canter is really important. And we like to see athletic foals who have the ability to shorten and lengthen the stride easily and are adjustable in the canter and supple through the body. And like we said, we like a good conformation, functional conformation and correct in the legs. So then you can also, when you go to a Keuring, you can compare a little bit also with the other participants and you can see how they are developed and how they are performing amongst the rest of them. And I think it's really important to level yourself up to other competitors, participants, because then you know where you stand and what you can improve or what is already confirmed in your dam line.
Yeah, and you can, as a judge, you see a lot of foals every year and over the years.
Yeah.
It's also interesting for you or for a breeder to ask your advice, right? Like maybe what to improve the mare line, what the mare produces and what stallions to use and everything.
Yeah, we see a lot of horses, of course, so we know a little bit the average of the population. And then we can compare it also with your foal, how it is in comparison. But we also need to consider when you breed now a foal, it needs to perform in 8 or 9 years. So we need already to think ahead, what will sport ask in 10 or 15 years? Because also the jumping sports is evolving.
Yep.
And we need to prepare for that as a breeder. So we need to think really forward into that
in the future.
In your breeding decisions.
Yeah. What is the difference? Like, what do you look at?
Well,
for hunters and jumpers specifically?
Jumpers and hunters, they conformation-wise, they're not really that different, I think. But mainly in the technique of jumping, we see a difference. Also in the technique of cantering. We want jumpers to be active and very accessible, adjustable in the canter and have a really quick takeoff and then with very good bending legs, a technique and opening really good from behind. Whereas a hunter needs to be more smooth in the whole performance. It needs to be very supple, but also can be a little bit longer in the front leg technique and not as much opening from behind as a jumper. So we see different kind of techniques in jumping and also in cantering, where the jumper should be very smooth, very supple, everything very consistent, and we like to see a little bit more explosive in the jumper. I think that's the main difference into that.
And you can already see differences as a foal.
Well, we see a different way of cantering.
Yeah, cantering, especially cantering.
And also for a hunter, it's really important that they have a good conformation, appealing conformation, very expressive in the front. The hunter people like to see that with a long neck, well muscled neck, and a lot of expression. They like to see that. It helps them also for the jumper. That's not that important. They have the appealing. They need to be very functional, I think.
So now we go to a little bit older horses. You can do an IBOB and a GES Cup.
Yeah.
Can you tell me something about that, and also what the importance is of entering your horse in those classes?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like an ability test, what we like to see on the saddle, because as a 3-year-old, it's not easy to present them on the saddle. Then you can do the free jumping. But we see nowadays more and more horses being presented on the saddle, also in Holland, but also in the US. And we think that's important because that's closer to our breeding goal, to present them on the saddle. So we see a more switch to present it on the saddle and then the stud book entry. And for the IBOB, you can do like performance test in the jumping, but also in dressage, but also for the gelders and also for the harness. You can do every direction. And the GS Cup is a national competition, which is really well set up and makes a final national competition level class. And all the participants are compared to each other within their age. And they can have a final ranking in that, and that's really good, I think, to promote it, the jumping as well, free as well on the saddle.
But that's like a real sports class, actually.
Yeah.
And you can also use that class, the DG Bear Cup and the GS Cup, as an IBOB second test for the IBOB.
Yeah, normally we combine the judging because we want to see them once under the saddle, and we can judge them in 2 classes directly at the same time. And but they get different scores for that because it's more riding with the GS Cup and also with the DG Bar Cup. It's a little bit more like a riding class, and the IBOB is a little bit more like ability class. So to present them, I think it's important to present them relaxed but engaged, but in a good connection in front line on their own feet, like we say it. So they need to be in balance in everything. And but you need to have a good connection to the bridle. That's really important for them.
It's more important to show that than necessarily it's not about speed or having a clear round. It's not like a sports competition in the sense of like a show.
No, it's not like jump off where you need to have the fastest time, but we like
it's an ability test.
Yeah. Exactly, we look like for the canter, it needs to be adjustable, and we look how they respond to the fences. We like to see a quick takeoff, upward takeoff, and then easy stretching forward with good technique and athletic scope. That's what we are looking for.
Yeah. And so carefulness?
Carefulness, also, that's what we score in the reflexes.
Okay.
So when they have a quick takeoff, and they have are careful, have a good overview on the jump. That's really important, and it needs to be consistent all the way.
Yeah, because you also get points for ability, right, or for future prospect, something like that.
Yeah. You have we score for the IBOB. We score the canter, we score the reflexes, the technique, and they are counted double. Then we score the scope, but we also score the rideability. So also rideability is taken into consideration for that.
Oh, that's super. Yeah, that's good. How would you advise people to best prepare for the Keuring? Like, of course, it's already happening soon, but what preparations you think are very nice and good to do for everyone?
Well, it depends on your class, for example, but for instance, it's good to read the Keuring's booklet because all the classes are described and what we expect in each class. For example, when you have a foal for the Keuring tour, it's different to prepare than you have a horse for the IBOB or the GS Cup or the DG Bar Cup. So it's important that you know what is expected on the Keuring. Because we know for the people who come to the Keuring for the first time, it goes very quickly for them and they need to do a lot. So it's good to prepare and to come one day ahead, I think, because then you don't travel the same day. So the horses get used to the arena and everything, and then they get relaxed to the Keuring. That's important. You should not stress too much at the Keuring the same day because that then you lose a little bit performance, I think. So it's important to prepare and to be on the right time there. And then you need to know what we are expecting. So when you have the class for the IBOB, you can already look up some videos of some IBOB so you know what we expect. And then we have fixed lines. So we have one line from a trot and one line from a canter with fixed rides in between it. So you can already prepare it at home to build the same course as we do as the IBOP. It's already on the website, which are the lines and what are the distances. So you are prepared, so your horse is already ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's important, I think, to prepare for it. And it's all written in a booklet, what we expect from what class at the inspection.
And during the inspection, somebody reads what is asked, right? So you say, everybody now change lead, for example.
Yeah, for the
right?
dressage that is.
For the
sure.
dressage, yeah.
Yeah, for the jumping, we tell you at that moment what to do.
Yeah, the judges are in the ring telling you what to do, right?
Yeah, and we also help you a little bit. If we think you should speed it up a little bit more or slow it down a little bit more, or we help you and try to get the best performance we can at that moment.
Okay, so speaking of that, I've heard before that it can sometimes happen when a horse is at a Keuring or, for stud book, that the judges can change the breeding direction. Does that sometimes happen, and what is that based on?
Yeah, that happens, but we have to distinguish two groups, I think, because you have the full books mares, and then we can, at that moment when the horse is presented, we can suggest which would be the best breeding direction for that horse. We look at the conformation, what type is he? Is he more like a Gelderside horse type, or is he more like a dressage type, or maybe more a hunter and a jumper? We can look at that for a full book mare, and then we see the performance, and we can ask the owner which class they prefer, and sometimes we switch. That happens when you have already a stud book mare in a breeding direction. If you want to switch your breeding direction, then you first need to pass the performance test before switching.
Of the other direction.
Of the new direction.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we want to know if that is a suitable direction for that horse.
Yeah.
And then they need to pass the IBOP, or they need to have a good sport predicate in that sport result in that direction, new direction.
Okay.
And then we can switch.
So Bart, thank you for your time. I think we handled most of the questions that I thought were interesting for everyone. Do you have any more general tips before we close this interview?
Well, I think, like I said, you should relax on the day itself, but before you can do that, you need to be prepared and read the Keuring handbook yourself. Then you know what to expect, and that makes it a lot easier, I think, for yourself at that day. And then you also know what to expect, so you can make the preparations ahead already at a good way, I think. And if you need a professional handler at the Keuring, because they know perfectly what they need to do at the time at the Keuring, they will help you for sure. And I think at the Keuring everybody wants to help you and guide you with it if you ask, and we will do a good job to making the right judging, I think. Yeah.
Yes.
And we know how difficult it is and how much effort you need to do for presenting a horse, but we think it's worthwhile, because then you get your horse explained by professionals and also compared to others, and you have an idea what your next breeding will be, or what you can improve, or what is already good in your dam line, and so that's the way to make it better, I think. And we also need to be ahead, like I said, 8-10 years. We need to think forward in breeding.
Well, thank you, Bart, for your expert advice, and I hope to see you in a couple weeks at the Keuring.
Yeah, we will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.